Hello and welcome back to another Football Commentaries live stream. Every game just gets bigger in this season's title race as Arsenal travel down to Brighton for another huge game for both sides. The hosts Brighton are winless in two after their defeat on Easter Sunday at Anfield and a frustrating 0-0 draw away at Brentford on Wednesday. They currently sit ninth, but the Seagulls are just 3 points off sixth place. They are 5 points off sixth place Manchester United, and win today would put them just 2 points behind them in that sixth position. The Travellers, Arsenal, remain in good form and they are unbeaten in 2024 in the Premier League. It was a comfortable 2-0 home win for Arteta's side on Wednesday, with players rested after a hard-fought draw a couple of days before at the Etihad Stadium. The reverse fixture saw a 2-0 win for Arsenal at the Emirates in the second half with goals from Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz. Arsenal have only won twice though here at the Amex since Brighton's promotion in 2017, both wins coming in the month of December back in 2020 and 2022. So in the 40th ever meeting between the two, can Brighton keep themselves in contention for European football again next season, or will Arsenal put themselves top of the league as Arsenal travel to Old Trafford tomorrow? It is a huge game for both. There were some interesting results just before in terms of the European spots with Brighton. Of course, Manchester City won earlier on in the day 4-2 away at Palace. So Arsenal know where they stand within the title race in terms of Manchester City. Arsenal would need to win to leapfrog them into first, but of course they might not stay first for a while as Liverpool play tomorrow at Old Trafford, where a win for Liverpool would put them back on top. A draw would put them level on Arsenal if they were to win. So there's so many different ways it can go. I think you just need to wait for the results to take place and to see where everyone lies come the end of the season. Zaki, yep, hello. Sure you're going to enjoy this commentary, I'm sure you are. But we are just over 5 minutes away, so I'll go through lineups pretty quickly. But Brighton here at the Amex haven't lost since near the start of the season. They've only lost once here in the Premier League this season. That came to West Ham back on the 26th of August. So they don't get beat here very often. They're unbeaten at home in the last 12 in the league. They've won 7, 3 in the last 5 against Forest, Palace and Spurs. So this is a difficult place to come to for Arsenal. Like I say, Brighton don't really lose here very often. They did lose once in the Europa League at home, and that was to AEK Athens early on in the season as well. So it is usually a place where Brighton pick up points, not necessarily always all three, but they don't really lose here. So it's going to be a challenge for Arsenal, who have lost 3 times on the road this season. 2 in December to Fulham and Aston Villa, and then to Newcastle in quite controversial circumstances back in November. So, in fairness, Arsenal haven't lost away from home for a while as well. Like I say, that unbeaten in the Premier League in 2024, which has obviously kept them in this title race alongside Manchester City and Liverpool. So, something's got to give in this game. It's either going to be Arsenal slipping up and dropping points, or Brighton lose their unbeaten run at home in the Premier League, which they have had since late August. So it's definitely going to be a interesting fixture and how it all will play out, as Brighton have been very hit and miss this season overall. I think a 9th place for them so far this season is a little bit deceiving, because it is really congested in that mid-table area up to the European spots. So it can go both ways. You know, Brighton win today, they jump up I think into 7th, just behind United, 2 points behind United. So it can really change for Brighton. Yeah, like I say, a win for them would put them 2 points behind United. And for Brighton, they actually wouldn't move up a place, interestingly enough, because Newcastle won away at Fulham and West Ham won away at Wolves. That means that Newcastle in 8th on 47 points and West Ham are in 7th on 48 points. So a win wouldn't move Brighton up the table, but would put them right up against the likes of Newcastle, West Ham and Manchester United. So like I say, the league table position can be a little bit false at times, because even though it looks like they're doing pretty poorly in 9th, you know, they could be right behind 6th in those European spots. So I think for Brighton, it's just getting points on the board, and hopefully for themselves, they could have a second go at European football next year. Of course, they were beaten in the Europa League last 16 to Roma a couple of weeks ago. But we'll go through both sides now, as it is Bart Verbruggen in goal for Brighton, keeping his place ahead of Jason Steele. A back four of Tariq Lamptey at right back. At left back is Purvis Estepinian, and the two centre backs is captain Lewis Dunk alongside Van Hecke, who's making his 50th Brighton appearance. Two in the holding midfield of Carlos Baleba and Pascal Gross. Three behind the striker. On the right is Simon Adingra. On the left is Jakob Murder. In behind the striker is Julio Enciso. And leading the line up front, former Arsenal man, and that is Danny Welbeck. And for Arsenal is David Raya in goal, former Brighton player of Ben White at right back, making his 125th Arsenal appearance. At left back is Alexander Zinchenko, with two centre-halves of William Saliba and Gabriel. Holding midfielders of Declan Rice, who returns to the starting 11 after being rested against Luton in the week. He'll play alongside Jorginho. Captain Martin Odegaard's in, with Bukayo Saka back from injury on the right. Gabriel Jesus on the left, and up front is Kai Havertz, who did score in the reverse fixture at the Emirates, making it 2-0 after Gabriel Jesus gave Arsenal the lead in the 53rd minute. And here are the two managers embracing together before kick-off. Roberto De Zerbi and Mikel Arteta. The head-to-head between these two managers is exactly even. De Zerbi has won twice and Arteta has won twice as well. And if we talk about last season's meetings between these two, there were lots of goals. They met in the League Cup third round where Brighton won away 3-1, and then Arsenal won here last season by 4-2 back on New Year's Eve. And then the home fixture for Arsenal at the Emirates in the Premier League saw Brighton go and win 3-0, which pretty much killed Arsenal's title hopes for last season. And Brighton could put another dent in Arsenal's title hopes for this season if Arsenal fail to get all 3 points. And like I say, for Arsenal, they are on a run of 10 games unbeaten in the Premier League, haven't lost since New Year's Eve away at Fulham. So it's a huge night for Arsenal, who have just got to keep track of the two teams who are currently above them at the moment. Manchester City in second, just behind Liverpool, who are in first on goal difference at the moment. But a win for Arsenal will put them back to the top, and it would mean that a Liverpool win would put them back on top of the league, as Arsenal have the superior goal difference at the moment. Of course, they went through that run in February where they just scored so many goals, and that's really helped them in terms of their goal difference. Like I say, Arsenal have won 9 of their last 10 Premier League games, scoring 35 and just conceding 4, which is absolutely ridiculous. That record is really impressive for Arsenal, and it has put them in this position where they are right in the race for the Premier League title, and they've got a difficult fixture here away at the Amex here, as Brighton have only lost once in the Premier League here this season, coming against another London opposition of West Ham, and West Ham are the only team to beat Arsenal at the Emirates as well this season. So who will win between Brighton and Arsenal, as Arsenal kick off, kicking right to left, Brighton left to right. David Raya sending the ball long towards the Brighton 18-yard box, headed away by Van Hecke, played forward by Zinchenko to Havertz, who's been fouled from behind by Van Hecke, and it's an early free kick for Arsenal on this near side towards the left wing position, so no real angle for a shot, but it will be a position for Arsenal to work across into the box here, as they want to put some early pressure on this Brighton side. At the moment, Rice is stood over it with Odegaard. Rice has been the provider for many Arsenal goals as of late, as he's been given a new role as a set-piece taker. But it looks like it will be left for captain Odegaard. It's a one-man Brighton wall, as Odegaard will hesitate the first cross. He'll have to rewind and retake as he crosses the ball into the box. It's a header won by Gabriel, and he puts it just wide. Huge opportunity for Arsenal, and if he was onside, that's a big miss. Odegaard with a cross. Gabriel, I think, just got himself back onside. Free header from 6 yards out, as he beat the Brighton keeper to the ball, and he's headed it just a yard wide at that near post. Huge opportunity for Gabriel, who's got the 4 goals so far this season in the Premier League. One more than he got in the entirety of last season. And that's a huge opportunity for Arsenal early on from a set piece. Brilliant delivery from Ødegaard, and Gabriel all alone won the header ahead of Verbruggen, but couldn't quite work the ball into the back of the net as Brighton have the ball in their 18-yard box with the goalkeeper Verbruggen forward to Dunk, and then out to the right to Van Hecke, whose touch just gets away from him, but he can work it forward to Baleba ahead of Gabriel Jesus, and it's now worked to Terry Lamptey. He'll bring it down the Brighton right-hand side here as he enters the Arsenal half, goes back to Baleba, into Lamptey again, then to Baleba. A couple of 1-2s between them two, and Brighton have worked it away from the Arsenal press nicely, and it's the home team on the ball here with their number 29 of Jan Paul Van Hecke, who's making his 50th Brighton appearance tonight. He's yet to score for the Seagulls since joining in September 2020. It's in the centre circle with Murder, bit of time on the ball here for the Polish central midfielder. They've gone to the left wing here to Pascal Gross, forward to Enciso, who's going to run at Ben White, and he goes on the outside of him, keeps the ball here, Enciso, as he chops it back onto his right foot, crosses off White, and then that'll be a corner for Brighton on the far side. Julio Enciso scoring at the Emirates when these two sides met last season. Back in mid-May, Enciso gave Brighton a 1-goal lead in the second half, and then 2 later goals from Undav and Estepinian. Like I say, pretty much sank the Arsenal ship to try and win the Premier League title last campaign, as it will be a right-footed in-swinger here for Brighton from Pascal Gross. Into the 6-yard box it goes. It's a header won by Gabriel once again, but only as far as Estepinian, who plays it to the right here to Adingra, and the referees just stopped play here as Adingra did play the ball backwards to Lamptey, so there wasn't any real momentum in the attack. And Jorginho is the man who's down at the moment. I think he's just holding his chest. The referee for tonight's game, John Brooks, whistling as he thought that it was a head injury. Let's have a look. I think as a Brighton player landed from jumping on the ground, I think he may have just landed on Jorginho. Not quite clear from that first replay, but arguably Arsenal could already have a 1-goal lead here. Left-footed ball in from Ødegaard right onto the 6-yard line where Gabriel all alone, I think that's the worst part about it. Gabriel got in there alone, won the header ahead of Verbruggen who came out, and he just headed it wide. Wasn't far away from Gabriel, who's making his 125th Premier League appearance, searching for his 15th goal. So a little bit of an early pause here in the game as Jorginho receives a little bit of treatment. Jorginho had started 4 games in a row for Arsenal before dropping to the bench against Luton in midweek as Thomas Partey took his place. Just the 4 changes for Arsenal from that 2-0 win to Luton. Partey, Smith Rowe and Trossard dropping to the bench. Nelson out of the matchday squad completely, so that allows the likes of Saka to come back in, Jesus as well, and Rice and Jorginho. As we're back underway, Jorginho will be fine to continue, I believe. He's not quite re-entered the pitch at the moment, so Arsenal down to 10 as it's Dunk on the ball. Just inside the Arsenal half here for Brighton, goes across to his right here to Van Hecke. He's got the pass out wide left, and he finds a beautiful ball to Enciso, who controls it nicely. On that right foot again, crosses off Ben White, but he'll go into the box where it's headed away by Rice, flicked on by Havertz, and it'll be a free kick to Havertz there as John Brooks is giving the foul against Pervis Estepinian, who's just stayed down here for Brighton, the Ecuadorian fullback, who scored and assisted in Brighton's win away at the Emirates last season in the Premier League. But interestingly enough, when Brighton went to the Emirates this season and they lost 2-0, Brighton actually had more possession, just by 2%. Arsenal had 49% of the ball, Brighton had 51%. I just think that's quite interesting. Arsenal like to have the ball, but even when Brighton went to the Emirates themselves, they were able to have more of the ball. As we're back underway here with Arsenal with the ball on the near side. Rice has it just inside his own half. He's got Dinger in front of him, so goes back here into the number 2 of William Saliba, who assisted here for Arsenal when they came here and won 4-2 last season. It's now with Zinchenko. Goes back to the halfway line here to Gabriel, who's had the biggest chance of the game so far. Came just over a minute in from a free kick from Ødegaard, straight onto the head of Gabriel, who couldn't get it on target. Gabriel, short ball to Saliba, and Welbeck's brought down. But play continues as Adingra picks up the loose ball. He's then tackled by Gabriel. And that's a let-off there. Really short pass that. Just not good enough from Arsenal. And Brighton almost pounced, but it was a good recovery challenge from Gabriel as Raya sends it to the right-hand side, nowhere near White, almost in between the ball, White and Saka. And Estepinian puts a cross in, and it's headed down by Zinchenko to his goalkeeper of Raya, who quickly rolls it out to Rice on the edge of the area, who moves away from Baleba and plays it across to his right here to the number 2 of William Saliba. Just a bit of a, I don't know if it was miscommunication or just simply a bad pass there, as the pass was cut out by Saliba and Gabriel. As they've worked it to the left wing here to Jesus, keeps it away from Lamptey. On the halfway line, Jesus has it, time on the ball as well, as he goes across to the right here to White, and lays it off into the centre circle to Saliba. Saliba still on the ball, Welbeck slowly closing him down, but he lays it off to his left to Gabriel, and it reaches him this time as they find Zinchenko in a bit of space on the near side. Forward to Jesus, tries the turn on Lamptey, good way line. Do apologise there, it looks like we had a little bit of a loss of connection on the stream, but I think it returned pretty quickly. Brighton broke away with Adingra, played it to Lamptey on the edge of the box, he pulled it across to Enciso just inside the Arsenal box, he got right underneath it and sent it far into the stands just behind the goal where the Arsenal away fans do find themselves congregated as Gabriel's pass is deflected forward out for a throw-in on halfway here for Arsenal. So a strike there for Enciso, like I say, got very underneath it. Was very high of a shot there, and Arsenal just come under a little bit of pressure in the opening 10 minutes here, but nothing that they have not handled yet, as they do still remain in this game at 0-0. But the head-to-head between these two sides, as of late, has been very, very even. In the last just under 5 years, the last 10 meetings between these two, we've seen 5 Brighton wins, 1 draw and 4 Arsenal wins. So in fact, it is Brighton who are on top of the head-to-head in the last 10 meetings. So it's definitely an opponent that Arsenal have struggled against at times in recent fixtures between the two, as Murder will strike from afar for Brighton and it'll be dragged past the post there, about 22 yards out. Jakob Murder giving the Arsenal goalkeeper something to worry about there, as David Raya did just dive across there to cover his post in case the shot had gone on target, but like I say, just dragged wide there by the number 15 of Jakob Murder, who will turn 25 tomorrow, the Polish central midfielder, brought in from Lech Poznan just under 4 years ago now. Spent 19 months out recently, Jakob Murder, with an ACL injury, only just returned in November of last year. As Raya goes long for Arsenal, down the right-hand side, there's a bit of space where it's brought down by Dunk, and there'll be a flag up there anyway, a whistle blown, free kick for Brighton, maybe a bit of holding there by Havertz on Dunk, and it's with Brighton on the ball anyway, forced to the goalkeeper of Verbruggen, who's been closed down here by Erdegaard. Verbruggen will play it out to the right back of Lamptey, got Jesus in front of him, he'll go long here himself, Lamptey up towards Welbeck, he will give the chase to the ball, but it'll be Saliba to see it through and take over. Good defending there by William Saliba. As we know, Danny Welbeck can be a handful. The most goals he's ever scored for one club, Danny Welbeck, was Arsenal in his 5-year stint at the club, scored 32 goals. At the moment, he's on 25 for Brighton. His 25th coming at Anfield last week, where they lost 2-1 at Anfield. Pretty unlucky in the end, really. Brighton definitely could have nicked something from that game. We covered it on the channel here, and don't get me wrong, Liverpool absolutely peppered their goal, but they weren't finding the net on too many occasions, and Brighton every time on the counter-attack looked really dangerous and definitely could have nicked a result at the end, but wasn't meant to be for the Seagulls, as they still remain in search of European football. As Ben White slips it through for Saka, I think he's onside there through Lamptey. Saka in the box on the right-hand side, onto his left foot. Saka strikes it, and it's gone wide of the far post. Huge opportunity for Bukayo Saka, who missed the Luton game on Wednesday altogether through injury. He's returned this evening, and he is onside. Lamptey on this near side playing him on, and Dunk. It's just made it too easy for Saka to chop onto his stronger left foot. And from around 8 yards out on the angle, Saka's tried to bend it to the far corner, and he should have scored. And if it's on target, it goes in. Verbruggen wouldn't save it. And another huge chance for Arsenal goes away. As Saka again has it in the box, in the corner, squares it. Jesus with the shot, and it's a strong left hand by Verbruggen. And it'll be a corner kick for Arsenal. A lot of early chances here for the away side as they won it back from the Brighton goal kick, and Saka in the box. Instead of shooting this time, went for the pass across. Found Jesus nicely, who could latch onto it first time, but it's a good diving save to his left there by Bart Verbruggen. And it remains 0-0, but Arsenal are definitely showing signs that they will at least score once in this game. They might need to score a few more times than that if they're to win this one, as we know Brighton can create a lot of chances of their own. Brighton had 24 shots on Wednesday night when they drew 0-0 away at Brentford, but only 6 of them were on target. But they've got defending to do here as Saka crosses it into the near post. Good header won there by Beleba for Brighton. Headed out to Saka again here by Ødegaard. He'll go back into the Norwegian here. Ødegaard on his left foot. He'll be the one to cross it this time, and it's a header away from Dunkel as far as Jesus in the box, who collects it, puts it to the far post here towards Saka. Headed back across by Estepinian. Still alive in the 18-yard box for Arsenal as Jesus tries to take it away from Adingra, but he's tackled by the Ivorian, and Adingra will clear down the Brighton right. It'll be recycled forward here for Arsenal through Zinchenko, but Brighton can push their defensive line up here as the clearance just gave them a bit of breathing space. Good work there from Adingra to take the ball away from Jesus. As Havertz drops deep for the ball and plays it into Gabriel at left centre-back. He's now on the halfway line with Saliba. Just at the age of 23, William Saliba turned 23 at the end of March. And it's now Ødegaard. Got Gross in front of him. Goes into Jorginho. Then out to the right here to Saka. He's got Enciso closing him down. Ødegaard takes over. Saka then gets the ball back from him. It's now with Ben White forward from right back. Gives it away to Enciso. And the Paraguayan holds it up for Brighton and goes back to the edge of the box here to Pascal Gross. A long ball forward now towards Adingra on the right. Instead of going down the right, it went right down the middle of the pitch there and straight to David Raya for Arsenal. It's not something they really want to rely on, Brighton, the long ball, because Welbeck will be able to hold it up if it gets towards him, but he doesn't really have pace as such these days to really chase a ball down in behind as Havertz receives it in the box on the right-hand side. He may be offside, but flag stays down for now as he crosses it to the far post, and Jesus heads it across. And wide it goes from quite far away in the end from goal from Gabriel Jesus. Goal kick's been given. The ball went forward from Jorginho, and Havertz timed the run well. He was onside. Got in behind Lewis Dunk, and Havertz crossed it to the far post. It was a late run in from Jesus, who lost his marker of Lamptey, but headed it well wide of the post in the end. It has definitely been a positive 15 minutes for Arsenal, but they don't want to come to regret these missed chances come the end of the game, because Brighton can be dangerous, especially at home. One loss at home all season for Brighton in the Premier League, which came in August to West Ham. As it's Brighton on the ball now, inside their own half, with their right centre-back of Van Hecke, who made his first ever career appearance against Arsenal in the reverse fixture at the Emirates. As Dunk's been forced back here to Verbruggen in the 18-yard box. Clears it first time with the right foot out to the left-hand side, headed away by White. Headed back forward by Gross towards Enciso, who loses out to White, but it's headed only as far as Welbeck. And it's back with Brighton, midway inside their own half here with Lewis Dunk, who will go for the audacious switch out to the right-hand side, and he finds Adingra. What a ball that is. Adingra running at Zinchenko into the box, onto his left foot, strikes it to the far corner, and it's high and it's wide. And it's a goal kick for Arsenal, but that is one hell of a pass from Lewis Dunk from in his own half, clipping it out to the right wing to Adingra, whose control was inch perfect. He ran at Zinchenko. I don't think Zinchenko expected him to go on his left foot, because Adingra is primarily right-footed, but he's gone for his weaker side, and it's shown a little bit. That's his weak foot. Like I say, high and wide, but it's a half chance for Brighton, as it's been Arsenal with the majority of the big chances in the opening 16 and a half minutes. But it is coming up to almost a month since Brighton's last Premier League win, which was against Forest on the 10th of March. Yes, they haven't played a lot of Premier League games since. They've only played 2 Premier League games since, as we did have the international break in between that, but it's been quite a while since they've last won a Premier League game. As for Brighton, it's been very just in the middle this season. Out of their 30 games in the league, they've won 11, drawn 10 and lost 9. So it's pretty even record all around for Brighton, as they've lost the ball as they tried to go long there towards Enciso on the left wing. Ben White beat him to it, going back to his goalkeeper of Raya. It's now Arsenal on the ball, midway side their own half with William Saliba. As it's still with the French centre-back. Zinchenko's just come into a more central area here as he receives the ball off Saliba. Zinchenko looking in behind for Jesus, possibly. He tries to curl it out to the Brazilian, comes off the head of Adingra, controlled eventually by Jesus, who can prod it away from Baleba, but can't quite. He can find Zinchenko in the end. He's back forward to Jesus, slips it through for Havertz, who's stopped in his tracks on the edge of the box by Dunk. Well won back there for Brighton, who's got it on the near side here with Adingra. Back into the right back here of Lamptey, former Chelsea player. Tariq Lamptey, as he lays it off to his centre-back Van Hecker, who clears. Not very convincing. Dealt with by Zinchenko as he finds Jorginho. And then back into Saliba, who returns it to the Italian European Championship winner of Jorginho. It's now in the final third with Saka on the far side. One-on-one with Estepinian. He goes back inside to Ødegaard. Ben White then making the run forward. Tries to slip it through towards him, but Estepinian gets there first. And then he's brought down by White. And it'll be a free kick just inside their 18-yard box for Brighton. As we know how good Ben White can be. Getting forward from full-back. Spent 7 years at Brighton, Ben White, making 41 senior appearances. Never scored, though, for the club. Made his name in the English game, more so when he spent that loan spell at Leeds in the 2019-2020 season when they came up through the Championship, and then he had a year in the Brighton first team until he was signed for £50 million from Arsenal. As it's now with Dunk at left centre-back. Down the line it goes. It's held up momentarily by Welbeck, but he can't find Enciso. It's now headed away by Estepinian as he controls it away from Saka. Inside to Enciso, who controls away from Jorginho, but then dragged down. No, it's the other way round. Enciso drags down Saka, and that'll be a free kick here for Arsenal. Enciso controlled it down, and I don't know where the referee's seen a foul there. It just looks like a bit of both. Saka has a pull at Enciso has a pull at Saka. I don't see where there's a foul in that. Personally, I think it's a bit of both, but it's an Arsenal free kick, about 10 yards inside the Brighton half, so it's quite the way away for Arsenal, but it's definitely a chance to float it into the 18-yard box through the likes of Ødegaard or Rice. As it goes in through to the box here to Havertz, who can control it, plays it out to the right wing here to Saka, to the edge of the box to Ødegaard, who's giving time to strike it, and it deflects off Estepinian, and behind for another corner for Arsenal on the far side. It was quite a smart free kick there for Arsenal, who went down the right side of the box to find Havertz. "20 minutes gone in this first half. As it will be a left-footed in-swinger here from Saka. Plenty of bodies in there for Arsenal as the cross goes in, and it's a free chance at the far post for Gabriel, who couldn't quite meet it properly with his left foot. Just didn't quite catch it right, and it just bounced off his left boot and well wide of the post. Little pull from Gross on his shirt. Don't think it's enough for VAR to get involved and overturn the referee's decision, but Pascal Gross certainly has to be careful there, doing a little pull on the shirt like that, as it did slightly take Gabriel off balance, which meant that the Brazilian centre-back couldn't quite get a full contact on the ball. As Baleba, great turn away from Rice, and beyond the halfway line, he's got Dingra to the right, tries to play it to him, but it deflects off Jesus, and then back off the hand of Baleba, and it'll be a free kick to Arsenal. Starting to really pick up some form as of late. Carlos Baleba, who was brought in from Lille in the summer. She's now 5th start in a row in the Premier League for the Cameroon international. As it's with Jorginho on the edge of the Arsenal box into David Raya, who's been closed down here by Murder. Goes back to the right here to Jorginho, who will bring it forward out of the 18-yard box into a central area to Havertz, who goes back here to Rice, who will stride with the ball. As Rice gets beyond one challenge, but then tackled by Murder. But thankfully for Rice, it drops back into an Arsenal player of Kai Havertz. And it's now with Jorginho in the centre circle. Not loads of options near to him. More of the options are out wide. He plays it to the left here to Gabriel. He's got Zinchenko making a run in behind. He's going to look for the Ukrainian full-back. It's just overhit. And it will roll for a Brighton throw-in right next to the corner flag. So a chance for Arsenal to push up here and try and catch Brighton out deep inside their own half. As it'll be Lamptey to take the throw-in. There's Lamptey. Tries to get the return from Gross, but Jesus is on the scene, but it's eventually cleared by Van Hecke up into the air, as it'll be volleyed back forward by Saliba. Only as far as Beleba, who gets it forward to Welbeck, flicks it into Murder, then into the space here for Adingra. Welbeck's away, he goes for the early pass, but it's too straight of a ball. Needed a bit of curl on it there, Adingra, straight into the gloves of David Raya. As it's with Rice in the centre circle. Almost a slick counter-attack there from Brighton. Just that ball by Adingra not finding his intended target of Welbeck. As it is Brighton. I've got everyone behind the ball, bar Welbeck, as he goes into the midfield here to Jorginho. Switched out to the right towards Saka in the box, who nods it down towards Ødegaard. Can't quite beat Gross to it, but the loose ball drops to Saka, who gets the flick towards Havertz, works it to Ødegaard, tackled by Dunk. And eventually cleared up towards Welbeck, where it's dealt with by Saliba, as he works it to White. Ball down the line, intercepted by Estepinian as he was looking for Saka. Welbeck back through to Estepinian, inside to his right here to Pascal Gross. And it's now a switch out by Murder to Adingra. That pass seems always on there to Adingra, and he's controlled it well again. And now Lamptey forward from fullback in the final third. Has to go back here to Beleba. Across to the left here to Gross. In more of a central area here for Brighton. Not being pressed at the moment. Given time on the ball here. Brighton's number 13. One of their most consistent performers throughout the last couple of seasons. Really shone under the management and coaching of De Zerbi. As it's a bit of time for Brighton on the ball here. Dunk has it. He's got everyone in front of him. As he goes across to the right here to Van Hecke. Adingra again's being left out wide with space. But Van Hecke will play it through to Welbeck instead. Then towards Lamptey, who will try and beat Raya to it. He goes down over the challenge. And nothing given. And Lamptey's gone down here. And he's suffered plenty of injuries in his career. It was played through by Welbeck towards Lamptey, who just slid into there by Raya, who got nowhere near the ball. I'm not saying it's a penalty. It seems like more of a collision than a foul from Raya. But it has left Lamptey on the floor here, who's suffered a serious knee injury before. And he's also spent a bit of time out with a knee injury in 2023. Spent almost 6 months out in 2021 with a hamstring injury. So he's probably missed more football than he would have liked to at the age of 23. This is his 99th appearance, though, for Brighton. Tariq Lamptey, as he's bought in for £3 million from Chelsea in the January of 2020. As this Raya in the box goes forward here to Jorginho, just slightly to the left here for Arsenal. It's now on the near side with Zinchenko. Back it goes to Gabriel, who's going to look forward for the pass. Goes low into Rice. Time on the ball here as he finds Zinchenko. The back to Gabriel in the defensive third here for Arsenal. It's now a Raya in the 18-yard box. Touch isn't great, but just about lifts it over the leg of Murder. And it's now with Gabriel left centre-back. Goes long with the ball forward. Controlled on halfway by Dunk ahead of Havertz. Then Dunk goes forward to Welbeck. Touches it out to the left towards Enciso. But he can't quite beat White to the ball. And it's back with Arsenal. Midway side their own half with Jorginho. Forced back to go to Saliba. He's got Beleba on his back here. Saliba needs to get rid. Goes down the line for Saka. Holds it up against Estepinian, but loses out to Enciso in the end. And the free kick's gone Arsenal's way. Fortunate there, Saka. I don't think that was a foul in my opinion. I don't think it was enough to go against him as Tariq Lamptey's gone down again. And this isn't what Brighton want to see. Switched his allegiance to Ghana, Tariq Lamptey, and made 2 appearances for Ghana in the World Cup in Qatar, well over a year ago now. Just suffered the injury after a collision with the Arsenal goalkeeper of David Raya just a couple of minutes ago. If you are new, if you could like and subscribe, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Got 2 more commentaries coming tomorrow as we do the Old Firm derby at 12. Rangers against Celtic. Could be one of the biggest Old Firms for a while, as it could decide the title. Not mathematically, but in terms of points ahead, it could be too big of a gap for Celtic to chase on Rangers. And then we're also covering the biggest Premier League game of the weekend, you could say, as Liverpool return to Old Trafford to take on Manchester United, this time in the Premier League. We might not get quite the game we got in the FA Cup, but still should have plenty of goals in that one, as Liverpool will go wanting to win for the points they need in the Premier League, but also a bit of revenge against United for that FA Cup defeat. As Lamptey is back to his feet here, and he's walking off quite smoothly. He's not limping or anything at the moment, so hopefully he'll be able to continue Brighton's number 2, who did spend 12 years at Chelsea from 2008 to 2020. So we're going to get back underway here. It'll be Arsenal free kick, about 15 yards away from the halfway line, in their own half on the far side. White goes across to the left here to the number 20 of Jorginho, who scored twice against Brighton in his previous 9. One of them at home during his Chelsea days, and then one here away from home. Jorginho, midway side of the Brighton half, loads of time on the ball here for the Italian, who works it to this near side to Zinchenko in the final third. Got a dinger in front of him. Zinchenko plays it forward to Jorginho, then back out to the left to Jesus. Back inside to Jorginho, forward into the box for Rice, lays it back off to Jorginho, tries to slip it through for the run of Ødegaard, but it's dealt with by Brighton, and there's a foul in there in the box. Beleba caught, as Brighton were trying to get rid of the ball. And it's a Brighton free kick, just under half an hour in here, and it's still 0-0. Arsenal having some big chances, Brighton some half chances. As Welbeck flicks the one forward in behind, but no one's there to chase it. White has it. Forward for Arsenal, controlled by Van Hecke. Beleba takes over in the centre circle as he overruns it, and it's prodded away by Rice, all as far as Gross, who goes in behind down the left-hand side, and Ciso will chase it. White will get there first, goes back to the goalkeeper of Raya in the 6-yard box, and Raya will go to his left here to Gabriel. He's going to be pressed by Jakob Murder. Finds Zinchenko at left-back. He goes to the goalkeeper of Raya. As they go for a low ball forward, finding Ødegaard, a bit too easy that. Brighton find themselves a little bit stretched there. And White brings it forward from full-back, goes inside to his left to Ødegaard, about 30 yards from goal. Ødegaard in the central area, works out to the left there to Jesus in the corner of the box on the left-hand side. Gets it onto his right foot, can't work the shot, goes back to Jorginho. So now Zinchenko forward from left-back, completes a 1-2 with Jesus. Then goes forward to Ødegaard, then out to the left to Jesus. No one in the box for Arsenal, as they find it in a central area here with Saliba. Then back across to his right from Gabriel to Saliba. Gabriel clips out to the left to Jesus, and he controls it well towards the byline. Jesus into the box, caught there, and that'll be a penalty. Tariq Lamptey going in rather aggressively on Gabriel Jesus. Seemed just a little bit unnecessary for Lamptey to jump in the way he did. Did seem like he got a chunk of the ball, but that may have been after he caught the man. Jesus entered the box, and I'm not sure if Lamptey got a touch there. Let's have a look. Jesus driving into the box onto his right foot. Lamptey does get a touch of the ball before taking down Jesus. There's also a question of if he was in the box for sure, just inside the box. Lamptey did get a slight nick of the ball and then completely took out Jesus, but did get the ball first. There is an argument that he did win it before taking down Jesus, but I don't think it'll be enough to overturn this one. Big call from the referee, John Brooks, as this will give Arsenal a lead here, away from home at Brighton. Not an easy place to come to. And this would be a huge moment in the game and the title race if Ødegaard can slot this one home. He is the one with the ball in his hands at the moment, their Norwegian captain. He's got 3 in his last 6, Ødegaard. Scoring against Luton, but he eventually passes over the responsibility to Bukayo Saka, who was injured against Luton. He's not scored in his last 3 Premier League games that he's featured in. And Saka has scored his last 5 penalty kicks here. He'll have to get this past a 6'4" Dutchman of Verbruggen in the Brighton goal. Saka on his return from 12 yards out. Can he dispatch it? Yes, he can. Straight into the bottom left corner. Verbruggen dived the wrong way. It's delight for Arsenal in Saka, who take the lead here against Brighton. They've had plenty of chances in the game already, but it took them a penalty kick to get them ahead. Won by Jesus, buried by Saka. And with 12 minutes to go for the first 45 here at the Amex, it's Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. You know, don't get me wrong, Lamptey with the challenge on Jesus, he did get a nick of the ball first and then took out Jesus. But I just don't know why Lamptey's jumped in. He just needs to hold his position a little bit more. He just, for some reason, decided to dive in really aggressively. Jesus, with his feet, were too quick for him. Shifted the ball to the right. And Lamptey took him out and the penalty was given and it wasn't overturned. I just think for everyone who might claim it shouldn't have been a penalty for the fact that Lamptey did get a touch of the ball first, I just think it's poor defending in general. There's no reason to dive in the way he did. And it gave John Brooks a decision to make, and he decided to go for the penalty kick. And it gives Arsenal lead. And like I say, Brighton haven't done a lot going forward, in fairness. I think half chances is probably the fairest assessment, but Arsenal have had the clearer opportunities. And it is with Brighton on the ball, on the edge of the 18-yard box here with Van Hecker. Goes across to his captain of Lewis Dunk. It goes to Verbruggen in the 6-yard box. To the left of Dunk. Then forward here to Estepinian. That's a brilliant pass in between the lines. Estepinian gets beyond the halfway line. Switching out to the right to Adingra. Again, that outlet is always on. And Adingra in the box. Gets the ball just caught under his feet. Eventually he's allowed to turn and he hits it off Welbeck. But he'll drop back to Adingra, who's then tackled by Jorginho. And there's a foul there on Beleba from Havertz. And it's a free kick for Brighton. A wasted opportunity though there from the home side as they were breaking after the ball from Estepinian. Found Adingra, but his shot was blocked by Welbeck. But as Havertz was trying to get onto the ball from Jorginho, he just caught Beleba in the face. And that's why the free kick's gone Brighton's way with 10 minutes left of the first half. So David Raya setting up his wall here. Pascal Gross is the one stood over the free kick. So it looks like it's just going to be Jorginho. It's about 35 yards out, a bit too far away for his shot, but Pascal Gross will deliver this into the 18-yard box. And it goes from Gross. Good cross, and it's a good header from Gabriel, and Saka avoids the corner. We are throwing for Brighton on the far side in the final third. As for Saka, that's his second ever goal against Brighton, scored here in their 4-2 away win last season in the Premier League. And in that one, Saka scored in the second minute, so he's had to wait a bit longer in this one, but he has given Arsenal a very much needed lead here in terms of the title race. As Dunk goes forward here towards Gross, it's cleared away by Saliba, chested down to Saka from Ødegaard. Now Saka on the halfway line, gets the touch off the Ecuadorian fullback of Estepinian, and there'll be an Arsenal throwing on halfway on that far side with Ben White. There's Ben White still with the ball in his hands here, waiting for a bit of movement as he throws it back to Saliba in the Arsenal half, and he goes across to Gabriel, who could have had a goal of his own in this one. It would be his first against Brighton after 7 appearances without a goal against the Seagulls. Saliba brings it forward on the halfway line, goes out to the right to Ødegaard, back into Saliba, who's going to look for the run of Ben White in behind, who gets forward from right back again. Can he keep it in? He's going to have to chase it. He will keep it in. Good cross as well. Van Hecke meets it, and it's put behind for a corner. He's done well there, Ben White, to keep the ball in and then to deliver the ball the way he did to the near post. It had a good bit of curl on it, a good pace, and I still think Havertz expected the cross. If he was maybe on his toes a bit, Havertz may have got there first, but he was sandwiched in between Van Hecke and Dunk, and the two centre-backs were able to deal with it in the end. So it'll be a left-footed in-swinger from Saka from the far side. There's a bit of movement here from Havertz to the near post. He'll cross it to the far post. It's punched away by Verbruggen, headed on by Enciso, only as far as Rice on the edge, who can keep it away from Baleba, but I think there's a bit of a high boot there from Rice as he tried to touch the ball forward. And on the edge of the box for Brighton, it will be a free kick. Just had his boot raised there from Rice. Nothing too dangerous, but just a bit too high for the referee's liking. As it's with Verbruggen now, curling out to the right back of Lamptey, and the Brighton defensive third goes down the line for Adingra. And back to Lamptey, first time ball forward here. Don't know who he's aiming for, no one's near it other than Arsenal's Saliba. And it's back with the Gunners inside the 18-yard box with Raya, who can control it after the pass from Jorginho. Just had a bit of height to it. Gabriel forward to Jorginho. Baleba's there on his case and he fouls him. Yeah, I think he just got a bit of the man before the ball there, Baleba. It's a rightly given free kick. I'm not sure on this penalty, you know. Like I say, I think from Lamptey, I think he's a little bit silly going in the way he did. Just think it was a little bit too aggressive, but he got the ball first. So I don't know what that means these days. Does getting the ball first not mean anything? I don't know. Like I say, after he won the ball, he completely took out Jesus, but the ball's gone. He's kicked the ball away. I really don't know. I'm confused. I don't know. You can make your own mind up. I'm only here to tell you what's going on the pitch. If it's clear, obviously I'll say it's clear. But with that one, I'm just not sure. He definitely gets the ball first, that's for sure. It might just be the follow-through that causes the penalty. Or maybe the referee didn't see the initial contact from Lamptey with the ball. But then that's why you've got VAR to come in and say, look, you know, VAR is Rob Jones. Why doesn't Rob Jones say to John Brooks, look, yes, he's gone in on him and he's caught him, but he's got the ball first. I don't know. It's strange. And in games which have such importance like this one in terms of title races and places for European football, I just think they need to get those decisions right, and I'm just not sure it was. But I'm sure people will have their own opinions as Estepinian gets forward for Brighton, lays it off for Enciso. Back through for Estepinian, brilliant 1-2. Havertz is chasing down the fullback, but Estepinian keeps it away from him. Welbeck beyond Saliba, but runs into Gabriel on the edge of the box. Well defended there by the Brazilian, and Arsenal need to clear, and they do through Saka, who just slices it out for a throw-in for Brighton with his right foot. Just less than 5 minutes to go with the first 45 here. And it is Arsenal who lead. I'd probably say that they lead, you know, it's a justifiable lead. Brighton haven't done enough in terms of big opportunities at the Arsenal goal, and Arsenal have had plenty of big opportunities themselves. Jesus had a header that went wide. Gabriel also had a header that went wide within the first minute of the game. And it was good running by Gabriel Jesus to win the penalty, as the centre-back of Gabriel is currently down at the moment here for Arsenal. Certainly not a sight they want to see. They don't necessarily have an out-and-out centre-back in as a replacement on the bench. They've got Tomiyasu, who's a right-back, and Kivior, who's been used more as a left-back this season for when Zinchenko has been out of the side injured. So they definitely don't want to lose Gabriel, that is for sure. They, of course, lost Saliba at the back end of last season, which really derailed their title ambitions in the end. And he seems in discomfort here, the former Lille centre-back, who did miss the 2 March internationals for Brazil, as he has been starting for Brazil in the previous internationals in the back end of 2023. So Gabriel walking to the touchline here, as he's definitely in pain, but it might be one that he's able to just run off, as we'll get back underway with a Brighton throw-in on the halfway line with Dunk now on the ball, allowed to bring it forward ever so slightly, and then he's going to play it to his right centre-back of Van Hecke. Arsenal closing down the gaps here, as they are currently down to 10. Rice filling in at centre-half here, as it's Van Hecke midway side the Arsenal half. First time ball out towards Gross. Deflects off White to Enciso on the left wing. On his right foot in the corner of the box. Enciso fakes shots plenty of times and eventually gets the shots off. And it's a good save by Raya. Couple of yards off his line there, David Raya. And he was almost caught out by Enciso. We saw how Raya was caught out with a similar strike away at Porto in the Champions League. Enciso getting a good bit of height on it. And Raya, with that right hand, just able to palm it out of touch for a corner, but needs to be careful he's not caught out again off his line, as Gross will put in the resulting corner, headed down by Van Hecke, deflects out wide to the Brighton left ear towards Welbeck, who is offside, as the Van Hecke header was won, so it'll be a free kick for Arsenal in their 18-yard box. Not a bad attempt from Enciso, who's yet to score this season, but he did miss a lot of time out from August to February with a knee injury. But last season, he did come through after joining Brighton in the summer and scored 4 Premier League goals, all from April onwards. So this might be his time to start scoring the goals for Brighton, as Raya goes long down the Arsenal left, headed away by Van Hecke as it almost reached Jesus. It's now with Beleba. Goes out to the left towards Enciso, but that is very inaccurate, and that'll be an Arsenal throw just inside their own half on the far side. It'll be White to take it. Throws it back into Saliba. And it's Arsenal who are back under control. But the last team to score more than once against Arsenal was their last defeat in the league, which was away at Fulham, where they lost 2-1. Since then, they've never conceded more than once in a game, and that's what Brighton need to do tonight if they are to win. As White links up with Saka, and the resulting cross from White goes straight down the throat of Bart Verbruggen in the Brighton goal, as we're 10 seconds off half-time here. Presuming we'll get a couple of minutes added on. As it's now with Dunk at left centre-back. To the edge of the box to Beleba. He's all on his own, and there's 7 minutes added on here, so Brighton certainly have more than enough time to counter-attack as Beleba tries to go over the top and in behind for a dinger, but straight to David Raya in the Arsenal goal, who picks it up and throws it into the left-back of Zinchenko, who will bring it forward on the halfway line with Jesus, back to Zinchenko, then into his own half, finding Rice. Time on the ball for the number 41, who wants to play it towards Ødegaard, and he finds him, takes it on the turn beautifully, and he charges down the Arsenal right. He's got Saka in support, and he finds him. Saka, the current only goal scorer in the game, tries to go backwards there, but he's stopped by Enciso, and Saka still has it, as he has to go into Saliba. It's now with Jorginho on the Arsenal right-hand side here. Forward to Rice. White's got a bit of time and space on the ball here in the final third. White wants to cross it. He eventually does. It deflects off Enciso, and Estepinian can avoid the corner as he plays it to Verbruggen, the goalkeeper, who can slice the left-footed clearance out to the left-back position where Enciso can't keep it in. And it'll be an Arsenal throw-in taken quickly by Ødegaard to Havertz. Back to Ødegaard. Last touch off Gross. Another throw-in for Arsenal, which will be taken this time by Ben White. White still with the throw-in. Still not taking it yet, as he eventually throws it into the 18-yard box. Havertz a little bit caught on his toes again, but then it's played through to Havertz, and he's touched it well wide of the post. You thought it was going to be dealt with there between Duncan and Verbruggen, but they both almost left it, which allowed Havertz to just slip in there and poke it towards goal, but couldn't quite get the direction. But Arsenal still attack here with Zinchenko on the edge of the box. Now with the left winger of Jesus. It goes to the edge of the area again to Zinchenko. Forward to Ødegaard, slips it through for Rice. On the left-hand side, pulls it across. Then it's cleared away by Gross. Volley not done well there by Lamptey. It's now Jesus, who's dealt with by Lamptey that time, successfully. But only as far as Zinchenko, who enters the box. Finds Jesus. Lifts it through for Saka, who on his left foot can shoot towards goal. Good bot from Van Hecke. Still alive here for Arsenal as Jesus loses out in the end in the right-back position for Brighton through Adingra, who can control it and get away from Zinchenko, but his ball down the line is nowhere near Welbeck. Cut out by Gabriel. And again, Arsenal attack down the left wing here with Jesus taken off him by Gross. Last touch off Jesus, and that'll be a Brighton throw-in. Really not dealt with well there at all by Dunk, who was trying to shield it to his goalkeeper, but a little shove from Havertz allowed the German forward to get there ahead of the goalkeeper, and he shoved Dunk away from the ball and gave himself a shot at goal. But just didn't have that clinical finish needed there, Havertz, as Rice takes it off Brighton, runs into Lamptey. Ball deflects in the air now towards Havertz, who nods it down for Ødegaard, can't quite get it under control, and Ciso touches it into Estepinian, and then back to Van Hecke on the edge of the Brighton box. It goes forward to Estepinian in the central area here for Brighton, as we've got 4 minutes left of the first half here, as we've had 7 added on. As it's with Van Hecke. To Jakob Murder. Forward to Welbeck on halfway. Back into Murder in the Brighton half. Welbeck's making a run in behind here. They don't go for it. They keep it instead with Van Hecke. Still inside the Brighton half. He plays it across to the left centre-back here of Dunk. It's now with Van Hecke again. Forward to Lamptey. He's just come a bit more inside from the out-wide position that he usually takes up at right-back to keep the ball moving for Brighton. As Dunk goes forward to Gross. Brilliant turn as well. And plays out to the left to Enciso, who will run at Ben White here into the final third. Enciso down the line towards the byline. Low cross goes in. It's controlled by Saliba. He needs to try and get rid of it as Murder slides in. Jorginho, who works out to the right-back position of Saka, lifts it into Ødegaard, who flicks it nicely behind him into Jorginho, and the Arsenal attack is well and truly on here. Jesus beyond the halfway line, plays it out to the right here to Ødegaard. He's got Havertz to his right. He slips it through for Havertz, who goes for the square ball across. It's dealt with by Van Hecke. And it will be Gross to kick the ball out of play. And it was kept in by Enciso, who's shoved to the ground there by White, and nothing given by the referee. It's now Ødegaard in the box. On the edge of the area, back heels it in Saka, forward to White, who's well offside. Just put your flag up, linesman. They carry it on with a ball to the far post to Rice, and eventually the flag goes up to the sarcastic rounds of applause from the Brighton fans. That's just what really annoys me about this keeping the flag down. He's so clearly offside. Please just flag the ball, please. Man just walks in and why Saka on your TV? It's because you're learning about the game, that's why. You're learning about football from my fantastic commentary, that's why. You just keep, you're expanding your knowledge of the game, and that's what you should be doing. So that's exactly why I'm on your TV. As we're closing on a half-time here, just under 2 minutes left, Arsenal still lead by a 1-0. Penalty from Bukayo Saka from the 32nd minute, if my memory serves me right. As it is in the 18-yard box with Brighton's goalkeeper of Verbruggen. There's not many clear-cut chances for Brighton. Seems like it's the story of their season, just not creating enough good opportunities to get the goals in the back of the net. As Van Hecke's short ball is intercepted by Ødegaard on the edge of the box. He enters the box. He's not got much support around him. Plays it back here to Saka on the right wing. It's now with Rice, back through for Saka, who's in the box towards the byline. Pulls it through. It's well blocked by Van Hecke as it was aiming towards Havertz. Brighton just need to get red here with Estepinian at left back, who's facing his own goal here as Ødegaard tries to take the ball off him. Still with Estepinian, who turns, clears it straight to the feet of Ødegaard, who finds Rice in the area, surrounded by blue and white shirts. Rice still has it. Finds Saka. He's touched towards Havertz. He's cut out by Dunk. And Brighton just needs to get rid here. It's with Adingra in the defensive third for Brighton. Goes inside to Murder. Keeps it away from Gabriel. And Murder goes back to his goalkeeper of Verbruggen, and Brighton survive as they just need to get in at half-time here at 1-0. They don't want to concede anymore. as Van Hecker forward, getting between the lines. That's a brilliant pass to Murder, who goes beyond the halfway line, just lacking the real support up there. He will find a dinger at right wing, who goes behind him to Lamptey. Still not enough players up there as he goes forward to Murder. He's offside, and that is a huge waste for Brighton right before the end of the first half. And Roberto De Zerbi is highly frustrated. He puts his coat over his face there. He can't bear to watch that play out anymore, as that'll be the half-time whistle from the referee, John Brooks, who's been at the main centre of attention of this game, as his penalty given to Arsenal has given them the lead. It was a run from the left wing from Gabriel Jesus. He cut onto his right foot. Lamptey dived in, did get a touch of the ball before taking out Jesus. The referee gave a penalty. VAR decided to not overturn it, and it was Bukayo Saka's responsibility to put the ball in from 12 yards, and he did just that, scoring his 14th Premier League goal of the season, matching his entire tally in the entirety of last season. Brighton have had 6 shots, just the one on target, just not creating enough dangerous opportunities to really worry the Arsenal defence. And for the away side, the Gunners have done more than enough for the lead. They've had 60% of the possession, 9 shots, just 2 on target, so they're lacking that real clinical edge. But Gabriel could have scored 2 minutes in with a header just wide. 15 minutes in, Gabriel Jesus put a header wide of the far post, nowhere near the back of the net in the end. And overall, they've just really dominated the ball. They've not dominated the ball in the Brighton half, which I think is the key part of it. They've just looked really comfortable. They're leading at the moment. They're currently top of the league once again, as here at the Amex after the first half, which has consisted of 52 minutes of football. It is Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. So the Gunners do lead at the moment at a place where Brighton don't necessarily lose very often. They've only lost once here in the league, and that came back in late August to West Ham. But Arsenal haven't lost in their last 5 Premier League away games, winning 4 and drawing away to Manchester City. As a clean sheet would be their 9th clean sheet of the season away from home. They kept 10 away clean sheets last season, so they're definitely matching their numbers defensively this season for Arsenal. It's just seeing this one over the line, if possible, in terms of a title race. Obviously, we know last season they crumbled a little bit and let the title, fall away from themselves. But for half-time, I'm going to go for 15 minutes, have a little break, but make sure you come back in 15 minutes as we'll bring live commentary of the second half. As at the minute at half-time, it is Brighton trailing by a goal to 0 as Arsenal lead, and they currently lead the title race. Hello, and we're back for what will shortly be the second half. Still got another 5 minutes or so until the restart, as we have mentioned, and as you can see on screen, Arsenal, the team who currently lead, but I'll be interested to see if they score another, what happens in terms of their starting 11, because Arsenal have Bayern Munich on Tuesday at home in the Champions League quarter-final first leg. And then they've also got Aston Villa next week on Sunday at home. And then on that Wednesday after that, they've then got Bayern Munich away in the second leg. It is a huge 11 days for Arsenal, where they've got 4 very challenging games. They are ahead at the moment in this one, but their running's just difficult. Like, it really is hard. You know, Bayern Munich, then Villa, then Bayern Munich again. Wolves away, which isn't easy. They've beat some big teams at home this season, the likes of Manchester City being one of them. Then they've got Chelsea at home, which, you just never know what Chelsea's going to turn up. Tottenham away, Bournemouth at home, United away, Arsenal, Everton at home. That's a difficult running for Arsenal. And if they get to the Champions League semi-final, then they'll have semi-final games within that run. That's not easy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, there's easier fixtures. You'd expect them to beat Wolves away. You'd probably expect them to beat Bournemouth at home and Everton at home. But Tottenham away, North London derby, Manchester United away, Aston Villa at home, who I know are a bit going under a bit of a rotten run at the minute. Drew today 3-3 at home to Brentford. Their top 4 charges starting to slow down a little bit. But if you look at those fixtures on paper, that's not an easy run. Of course, with the momentum they've got at the minute, they've not lost yet this year in the Premier League. They'll definitely expect themselves to not lose any of those games. I think they'll have the belief that they can go unbeaten, especially after going to the Etihad and picking up that 0-0 draw. But I think, it's definitely not an easy game, an easy run they've got left at the moment. As for Brighton, they've still got to host Manchester City in a couple of games' time. They've also got to host Aston Villa and Manchester United before travelling away to Newcastle. So some difficult fixtures as well for Brighton. Is, like I say, that position in the table is so close in there. At the moment, Manchester United are in 6th position on 48 points, and Chelsea, who are in 10th, they are on 43 points. So from 6th to 10th, there is 5 points difference with around 7 or 8 games to go now, because teams are on different amount of games left. Some have played more, some have played less. So that 6th and 7th place for Europe could go to anyone at the moment. It just depends who can have a consistent run in at the end of the season. I think that'll be the main factor. Who can see this one through? Who will not slip up? Like I say, West Ham, a huge win away from home at Wolves. They were 1-0 down, turned it around to 2-1, and then conceded in the last minute 2-2, but then that was disallowed, so it gave West Ham the 3 points. Another win, big win as well for Newcastle away at Fulham. They also had a goal disallowed. They were 1-0 up, then disallowed, then were back to 1-0 up through Bruno Guimaraes. So big wins around Brighton, wins that they didn't want to see, but it does mean they have to respond themselves if they want to try and get into those European spots. But in all fairness, I think if Brighton were to finish 8th and 9th, it's not an unsuccessful season. It's their first year with European football, which does affect your team. It's more games, more rotation, and it does mean you drop more points than usual. I know it would be no Europe for Brighton next season, but again, that might work in their favour. They're not in Europe, more time to focus on the Premier League. They might finish back in Europe again. I just don't think Brighton fans need to. I just don't think Brighton fans should get ahead of themselves too much in that sense. I think they need to try and keep themselves level-headed and understand that top half finishes are good at the moment, because the Premier League has got so much quality in it now, and that there's no real bad teams anymore. With with the likes, West Ham now consistently up there now, with Newcastle with their money that they've got coming in. Manchester United are always going to be in there, obviously dropping off at the minute in 6th position, a place they probably don't want to be at. And it doesn't help when they lose a game in 2 minutes against Chelsea, like they did on as they did on Thursday night. That was quite comical, if I'm going to be honest, the way they lost that game in the 100th and the 101st minute. But the second half here will be getting underway in a couple of minutes' time now, as we did have 7 minutes added on in that first half. But Brighton definitely just need to start doing more, start being more dangerous. They're getting forward on occasions, but not looking like a threat at all, really. I mean, Enciso brought out a good save from David Raya as he shot from the edge of the box, but altogether I feel like it's just been a little bit too comfortable for Arsenal, and that penalty kick has given them a lead, and it's given them something to protect, and something they need to protect. Arsenal need the 3 points if they want to stay in this race for the title, which they lead at the minute with this win. But like I say, with big games coming up for Arsenal, none more so than on Tuesday against Bayern Munich at home, I'm interested to see if Arteta makes any changes. Maybe not at half time, but maybe early on in this second half. They did make a lot of changes in that game against Luton on Wednesday. The main players who played in that were the full back five played, including Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. Ødegaard also started and scored, and so did Havertz, and they all 7 of them start as well today. But the main area where Arsenal are being, I don't know what the right word is, they're not being exposed because they haven't conceded from it, but Simon Adingra, the Brighton right winger, is getting quite a lot of space on that flank. And if Arsenal are not careful, Adingra could cause some issues, because it's just been the final ball for Adingra that has meant Brighton have struggled at times to get those big chances. You know, there was one where Danny Welbeck was through on goal in the box, but Adingra's pass just went straight to the goalkeeper. He didn't get any bend on it. And it's just moments like that. If they can work it to Adingra, and Adingra can get the cross or pass right, and that's when Arsenal might have to start worrying here. As both sets of players are back out for the second half here at the Amex, as it'll be Arsenal to kick left to right towards their away support. Brighton will kick us off, kicking right to left. As like I said, got 2 more commentaries coming tomorrow. Rangers Celtic at 12 and Manchester United Liverpool at 3:30. But for now, we are concentrating on this game at the Amex, where it is Brighton on the ball, midway side their own half. Sloppy pass from Arsenal, gives it to Enciso in the central area. He's got Gross to his left. Enciso will go on his own, and he deflects straight into the gloves of David Raya. But it's a very rapid start there from Brighton. Jesus giving it away pretty poorly in the midfield. Ødegaard went a bit further forward than Jesus thought. And Enciso picked it up, ran at goal, got his shot away, but it was deflected and straight into the hands of the goalkeeper, who can eventually clip it out to the left wing here towards Rice. Heads it into the air there, and it will fall for Jesus, who nods it backwards to Zinchenko. Plays it forward down the left-hand side here towards Havertz, straight out of play. And it'll be a throw-in for Brighton on the far side. He's definitely been a little bit quiet in that first half, Kai Havertz. But he definitely occupies a defender or two, which allows more space for the likes of Saka and Ødegaard and Jesus. As Baleba gives it away, drops here for Ødegaard. Out to the right here to Saka. In the central area himself, goes forward to Havertz, who's going to look out to the left-hand side, finds Rice. He's got Jesus in the final third, and they find him. Jesus in the box, onto his left foot. Tackled by Lamptey, who can't avoid the corner. And it'll be a Arsenal ball on that far side. It'll be a set piece for them, which they've been very good with in recent months. And it allows the likes of Saliba and Gabriel to get forward from the centre-half positions. An early goal in the second half would be exactly what Mikel Arteta wants. And he might get it here. So it'll be a curling cross in here from Declan Rice. The ball goes in, it goes above Havertz, it's put on towards Gabriel, can't quite meet it, and eventually cleared for Brighton. It's an Arsenal throwing on the near side. Gabriel, a constant threat, not just this season, but in this game as well. He's been a constant threat from set pieces. The ball went in, it went over the head of Havertz, it was nodded on by Gabriel, it came off Lamptey, and it'll be a throw-in for Arsenal, which they've taken. It's now Verdegaard. Keeps it on this near side here as he goes forward to Saka, turns away from Estepinian, plays it backwards here to William Saliba as Arsenal keep possession deep in the Brighton half. Down the line for Havertz, who's found himself in a right wing position here on his weaker right foot. He will put a nice ball into the far post as Gabriel meets it. Gabriel Jesus, the one to head it towards goal, but just wide of the near post. Not usually one to use his weak foot, Havertz, but he was almost forced into it there as he was shown down the line by Enciso. And he just hung it up to the far post, and Gabriel Jesus got up really well above Lamptey, who in fairness is only about 5'4". So not a difficult player to beat in the air, but beat him he did. And he really got the header down, bouncing off the ground with some power, but it just lacked the accuracy. And Brighton are surviving some early scares here, as it's definitely Arsenal, the team who have started the better in this second half, as Gross can't quite keep the ball away from Saka as he was sold short by Beleba. And it's now Havertz again on that right wing, driving inside onto his left foot, trying to square it across, but stopped in his tracks by Beleba, who recovered well there for Brighton. But they just need to be careful here, the Seagulls, because Arsenal are on it. As for Arteta, this would be his 97th Premier League victory as a manager in the Premier League. So almost coming up to a century of wins. As Brighton play out from the back in their 18-yard box, Van Hecke dribbling the ball away from Havertz and then playing it to this left-hand side now to Estepinian. Midway side, his own half, he goes back to Lewis Dunk. And for Arsenal as well, they are now on 94 goals scored in all competitions so far this season. They were knocked out in the fourth round of the League Cup. They were knocked out of the third round of the FA Cup. But in the two major competitions they're probably interested in, they are going as far as possible. Like I say, in the Champions League quarter-finals, and are well within the race for the Premier League as we start entering the month of April, as Zinchenko concedes the corner there. Edingra was running forward, last touch off the Ukrainian. And that'll be a corner kick for Brighton on the far side. Given away by Zinchenko, who just looks the weakest link in the Arsenal team. Not to draw him out or single him out, but I feel like if they could get a real consistent left-back who's not always injured, because Zinchenko's also struggled with injury again this season. Struggled with a calf problem in February, most recently, as Brighton deliver this in-out swinger, flicked away by Gabriel. All as far as Estepinian, who wants to strike it. It does drop back to him quite fortunately, and then he strikes it again. And it goes quite wide of the far post from Pervis Estepinian, who's got the 2 goals so far this season in the Premier League. Scored away at Wolves in August, then scored at home against Tottenham, the other North London side. Was completely rested on Wednesday. Pervis Estepinian against Brentford away from home. As we're getting a bit of a stoppage in play at the moment, as it's Ben White down. And Enciso trying to help him up here. As Ben White went down after a little bit of a melee between him and Estepinian, a bit of a shove. They both shouldered each other, then Estepinian threw an arm into White's throat, and he goes down like he's been shot. It's just so embarrassing. Like, it actually hurts to watch that he's gone down after that. Literally, Estepinian threw an arm at him, barely even touched his throat, and he goes down the way he does. It's just, it hurts to watch. I just find it so cringy. It's like, what are you doing? Like, Ben White, you are literally 26 years of age. What are you doing to stay on your feet? Just embarrassing, especially for the young kids who watch. They will look at that and go, well, I'll do that next time. If I get touched, I'll just go down and look like an idiot. Enough of my rant over, as Gabriel's pass is deflected away by Murder, and it'll be an Arsenal throw in here in a left-back position on the far side. Gabriel, a little bit shaky there with that pass. Didn't quite find his intended target as Zinchenko clears away from getting the return ball from the throw-in. Volleyed away on halfway by Van Hecke. Flicked on by Enciso, comes off the face, I think, of Ødegaard, and he plays it out to the right back here of White, who gets beyond the halfway line, goes inside towards Rice. What a touch that is. Rice to the left now to Jesus, about 20 yards from goal, onto his right foot. Plays it into the gap towards Ødegaard, just overhit. Collected in the box by Dunk. Touchdown by Gross to Enciso, who then deflects a pass to Murder, tries to go through to Welbeck. Well cut out by Gabriel. And it's Arsenal back on the ball with the Jorginho in the centre circle. Havertz making a run forward. Jorginho doesn't use him. Instead goes to the right here to White. Jorginho turns nicely. Keeps the ball away from Gross and plays it to the left here to Zinchenko. Now Jorginho again in the centre circle. Finds the number 6 of Gabriel, who started every single Premier League game last season. Gabriel didn't start any of the first 3. As you might remember, Arteta was experimenting with that Pep-like system of bringing a centre-back into the midfield, and that meant Gabriel was used as a sub. And obviously, I think Gabriel has also been helped out with the fact that Jurriën Timber has been out for quite a while for Arsenal. Their signing they brought in the summer from Ajax. He looks like to be returning soon, Timber. I've seen him back on the grass recently in a training video posted out from Arsenal as Havertz receives it in the box right-hand side. On his left foot, squares it. Ødegaard gets the right-footed shot off, and it has to be tipped over there by Verbruggen. He was pretty close to the goalkeeper, so I don't know if he's seen it late or he might have took a slight deflection, but it was Ødegaard to hit it with his weaker right foot there. No deflection. Was it with some power? They went through a couple of bodies, and Verbruggen thought best to just tip it over the crossbar. As it is now an Arsenal corner on this near side, as we're just less than 10 minutes into the second 45 minutes. Arsenal still look the better side in this one. So it'll be Saka to go short here to Ødegaard. Then back to Saka on the angle. To the edge of the box to Zinchenko. Back through for Saka with a lifted pass. He touches it down. He gets it across. And it's well blocked by Welbeck. Drops to Gabriel Jesus, who shoots. It's blocked. And eventually cleared for Brighton. As Zinchenko takes no chances. Here goes all the way back to David Raya. Midway side the Arsenal half. And Arsenal will keep the ball here with Alexander Zinchenko. Who this season has made his most, this season and last season was his most ever appearances in the Premier League. For Manchester City, Zinchenko only managed 20 at most Premier League appearances in one season, but last season he got 27 Premier League appearances. This season, this is now appearance number 24, so obviously receiving more game time here at Arsenal when he's not injured compared to when he was at Manchester City, as Enciso is fouled multiple times and eventually he'll get the free kick here. And a couple of nibbles there, got beyond White, got away from Jesus, tripped down by White, not once but twice, then ran into Jorginho. So eventually won the free kick there in Enciso, the Paraguayan. He's making just his third start since he's returned from making his second start since he's returned from injury. His previous start came at the start of last month away at Fulham. He's had to be patient in terms of minutes since returning. Julio Enciso, as he wins this free kick, and I think it'll be Pascal Gross to get the ball short from Estepinian, and then he works out wide to the left here to Enciso, who's one-on-one with Saka. Estepinian overlaps, Enciso goes on his own, goes around Saka as he works it to the byline. Last touch off the Arsenal man, corner kick for Brighton. In a little bit of an uncomfortable situation there, Bukayo Saka having to defend one-on-one on Enciso, but he dealt with it well, but did concede the corner in the end. So I think there's a little bit of handbags just after that ball was dealt with by Saka. Yeah, Rice and Van Hecke colliding in the box, but the referee's spoken to them both, and it does look like we'll get back underway. No one's been punished with a yellow card or anything like that, as it'll be a right-footed in-swinger here from Gross. Gabriel goes down in the area, and we'll get a retake of the corner. Referee not happy with the pushing and shoving in there. Dunk this time, the one being looked at. as we'll get the retake from Pascal Gross. Brighton surrounding the far post at the minute, then they move across to the near post, as that's where Gross puts it in there, headed away eventually, then hit on the volley by Enciso. And that is so far high and wide, it's going nowhere near goal, and it's a goal kick for Arsenal. Again, just Brighton not looking dangerous enough at all in this game. I definitely think if Brighton concede a second, I think that'll be curtains for the game. Definitely think that should be the viewpoint of Arsenal if they get the second, not to obviously take the foot off the gas and think they've won the game, but I just don't see Brighton scoring, in all honesty, at the moment. I know that can change, through a set piece or a mistake. Anything can cause a goal, but just Brighton don't look dangerous enough. Welbeck is so isolated, as Saka's been played in behind here. Verbruggen comes out of his box and clears it away. I think Saka may have just been onside there. It was good goalkeeping by Verbruggen, the 21-year-old Dutchman. And it's back with Arsenal on the halfway line with their number 6 of Gabriel. He goes over the top down the right-hand side, headed back to his goalkeeper there by Estepinian. Good defending by the former Villarreal left-back. As at home, Brighton have been doing okay. It's away where they've struggled. Brighton have got 1 win in their last 10 games away from home, from the 3rd of December to their most recent away game at Liverpool on the 3rd of April. Against Brentford, on Wednesday on the 3rd of April. That's why they are finding themselves around the mid-table spots. As Gross tackles Jorginho fairly, but he kicks it straight back towards Saliba. He will switch it to the left-back as Zinchenko, but the ball is short. Cut out by Baleba, who can slide in, and he can't keep it in on that far side. Almost a perfect bit of midfield work there by Carlos Baleba, who intercepted the Saliba pass, but couldn't quite keep in his heavy touch on the far side, as he did chase it down. And it looks like Brighton were going to start to make some changes here. The one that looks like it's going to be readied is Facundo Buonanotte. As again, Arsenal lose the ball. Jorginho's pass gets away from his intended target. And it's a throw in the final third for Brighton on the far side. Throw into Murder, who holds it up against Zinchenko. And he finds Adingra, who's been non-existent in this second half of Brighton, as he goes back to Van Hecke. It's now Dunk just in front of the halfway line. Goes forward to Gross, short. That's a shocking pass, that. What are you expecting Gross to do there? As it falls to Saka, through for Rice, who lifts it over the head of Van Hecke, but on the recovery, Lamptey sorts him out, wins the ball back for Brighton, and it's the home side who are on the ball, but giving it away too easily there. Dunk as Van Hecke, just straight to Gabriel on halfway, heads it forward to Jorginho. It's these long balls that Brighton are trying. It's going nowhere near Welbeck. I feel so sorry for Danny Welbeck. He is so isolated up front. I'm surprised he's not showing much frustration, as Ødegaard goes inside to Havertz on the edge of the box, poked away from him by Dunk. Enciso takes over and plays it out to the right here to Adingra, who can run at Zinchenko beyond the halfway line. Adingra back into Enciso, who can't get away from White. And it can be cleared here by Saliba, who's tackled by Welbeck, but it drops to Gabriel, who then goes forward to Rice, being chased down by Murder, but he works it to Jesus. And it's now back with Arsenal towards this near side here with Ødegaard. Puts it into the space for White as he enters the Brighton half. He's got Saka to his right. Ben White will just stop play here and then eventually plays it to Ødegaard. He was thinking about the shot from 25 yards, but decided to go against that decision. And Ødegaard just keeps it. It's now with Saliba, midway side of the Brighton half. Goes down the right flank here to White. On once more now for Saka, who's going to have a go at Estepinian here. Here is Saka in the box on his left foot. Crosses in. Header won by Dunk. Ahead of Havertz, but the header goes straight to Jorginho. So Arsenal can attack again. There's Saka sold short. Tackled strongly but fairly by Estepinian. But the short ball from Enciso gives it to Jorginho. And Arsenal can now attack. Ødegaard plays it through for Jorginho. To the byline. Pulls it across. And it's tapped in by Havertz. Arsenal have a much-deserved 2-goal lead here. Brighton are well off the pace. Arsenal are on it. And they are putting themselves back to the top of the Premier League. They are doing exactly what they need to do to win this game. Havertz scoring again. It's his 9th of the season. He had scored 4 in a row before failing to score in the last 2 games against Luton and Manchester City, but he's back on the score sheet today. And Ciso, such a bad pass to Welbeck, picked up by Jorginho. It went back inside to Ødegaard, who slipped it through for Jorginho in a right wing position, who kept himself onside, on the byline, in the box, pulled it to the near post. And Havertz beat Duncan Van Hecker to it, to slot it home beyond Verbruggen. Just so easy for Arsenal. Good assist for Jorginho. Good run into the box there from Havertz. And it's as easy as you like. Very deserved. Brighton have been well off it. But that doesn't mean that it's a given for Arsenal to go on and win. You know, they've also got to put in their performance to get the 3 points. And they're doing a performance that does definitely justify winning this game. And they have doubled their lead. They're 2-0 up here at the Amex. Kai Havertz. With the second goal, it's his 3rd in 6 against Brighton. He's got 3 in his last 3 against them now. Scored in a 4-1 away win. Scored in a 4-1 away defeat here with Chelsea last season. Scored in the reverse fixture. So 3 in a row against Brighton for Havertz. And we're going to get some changes here as Brighton bring off Julio Enciso for Facundo Buonanotte. And Arsenal are going to make a double change as they've got Bayern Munich on Tuesday. Gabriel Jesus to be replaced by Gabriel Martinelli. And Bukayo Saka to come off for Leandro Trossard. That does also show as well, though, the strength in depth that Arsenal have got. The fact they can bring on Martinelli for Jesus and Trossard for Saka as Trossard returns to the Amex. It's his first ever appearance back here as an Arsenal player for the Belgian, who spent 4 years at Brighton, scoring 25 goals. And it's in fact a double change for Brighton as well. So Buonanotte on for Enciso, but Jacob Murder was also brought off for João Pedro. And for João Pedro, he did play the full 90 minutes in the week against Brentford after missing the previous 2 months out injured. But Brighton just simply don't look like scoring, in all honesty. But Brighton have scored 3 or more goals in 9 Premier League games this season, so they can score a handful of goals when they want to, but tonight, Arsenal have just been too good for them, as they've worked out to the far side here with Tariq Lamptey. It goes back inside to João Pedro. It's now Buonanotte in the right wing position in the final third. Deflected pass falls to Jorginho in the box. Forward to Ødegaard. Out wide left now to Trossard. Brilliant play from the captain. It's now Trossard bringing it forward beyond the halfway line. He slips, so does Lamptey. And Buonanotte takes the ball. Wow, that is loud. Do apologise. Apologise about that. It almost scared me a little bit. As Brighton play... Oh, God, this is painful to watch. Just sometimes when you commentate on a game and a team is playing as bad as Brighton are, it just hurts. Because nothing's going their way. Like Pascal Gross tries a ball out wide to the left. He puts so much height on it. Adingra was never going to bring the ball down. And it goes out for an Arsenal throw-in. It's a throw-in for Arsenal. Midway inside their own half here on this near side. White's taking a while to take it. He'll throw it down the line eventually, beyond the halfway line. Headed forward by Estepinian. Gross can turn away from Ødegaard. Goes out to the left to Adingra, who goes down over the challenge there of White. And Arteta doesn't like that decision, but he goes against his side as Arteta needs to get himself back into his technical area. You no longer play, Mikel. You've been retired since 2016. It's the one thing that does annoy me about Arteta. Just stay in your technical area. What do you think you're doing? It just annoys me. I know it's a little thing that shouldn't, but it does. As Gross on the edge of the box, flicks it through for Pedro, touches it out to the left here to Adingra, in the box, on his right foot, lays it off for Pedro, takes the touch, wants to shoot, but slips, but then keeps the ball away from Martinelli. And then Pedro tries the eventual cross, comes off Martinelli, back to Pedro, so still with Brighton now with Estepinian. Now Baleba, 25 yards from goal, goes back to Dunk, and to the left there to João Pedro. A much needed player they need in the team again, Brighton. And he is back in now, João Pedro, returning from injury where he had to miss 9 games altogether. As it's a throw-in for Brighton. Adingra's flick comes off Saliba. So Brighton still have it with a quarter of the game to go here at the Amex. Arsenal lead 2-0. Welbeck on the edge, loses out to Saliba. Cleared forward by Gabriel. We're throwing on halfway here for Brighton. On this near side, as it was dealt with well there by Gabriel. So Brighton will have to build from the back here. It's on the halfway line here with their number 20. Of Carlos Baleba, yet to score in his professional career. The 20-year-old. As it's Estepinian on this near side. Goes into Baleba and then across to the right centre-back of Van Hecke. 30 yards from goal, goes forward to João Pedro. Lamptey's making the running behind, can't quite squeeze it through to him, so Pedro keeps it instead. It's now a Van Hecke. Through to Pedro again. He's starting to dictate the play a bit more now for Brighton. And Estepinian comes out to this near side with a ball to Gross. Plays it inside to his right here to Dunk. Bit of possession now for Brighton, something they've not had a lot of in this game. Gross. Across to the right here to Van Hecke. He's got Lamptey out wide. He uses him. Lamptey's got everything to his left. He goes back though into Van Hecke. It's now Baleba. Estepinian. From that left-hand side, will he deliver the cross in? He's got bodies in there. Takes too long to decide and eventually has to go to his right to Dunk. It's now Van Hecke. Forward towards Welbeck. Cut out on the edge of the box there by Gabriel as Arsenal push forward. And Brighton will have to start again from the halfway line. There's Buonanotte. Keeps it away from Trossard. Plays it forward to Pedro. Then out to the right here to Welbeck. On once more to Lamptey. Bodies are in the box. Can Lamptey deliver? He puts it to the edge of the box to Welbeck instead. Tries the 1-2 with Pedro. Loose pass cleared by Gabriel. As it's up in the air. It's nodded backwards by Lamptey to Van Hecke. So Brighton can keep the ball here. It's now with Baleba. Out to the left it goes now to Adingra. Estepinian's overlapping. Adingra goes on his own. Onto his right foot. Squares it for Baleba. Goes to his right to Van Hecke. With Dunk again. Estepinian in the final third will deliver the ball. It deflects off Martinelli. And drops back for Estepinian. So Brighton will just go again. As they're having a bit of domination in the game. Adingra through to Buonanotte in the box. It deflects away from him. Cleared by Saliba. Headed backwards by Martinelli. Then forward by White. Straight to Adingra. As Brighton, they've still got a chance here as Dunk crosses in straight to the hands of David Raya on the 6-yard line. And he'll roll it out to Zinchenko at left back. Bit of a waste that for Brighton for the amount of possession they had there. Down the line it goes for Trossard. The space here for Arsenal to use as Trossard goes on his own. Onto his right foot from afar. He'll shoot. And it's parried behind by the goalkeeper. Having to dive across to the near post as Leandro Trossard is looking to score his first ever goal against his former side since he left in January of last year. Slight deflection off Van Hecke, but it was certainly going in. Good save there in the end by Verbruggen. As Arsenal looking for a third goal, which would certainly kill the game off. So it'll be an in-swinger here from Rice for Arsenal with less than 20 minutes to go. The cross is delivered towards Gabriel, who heads towards goal. It might have come off his own player there, Havertz, but he will drop to Saliba in the area. And the offside flag goes up as the header from Gabriel came off Havertz, who was stood in an offside position, unfortunately, for the Gunners, as Gabriel won the header there at the far post. As Arsenal are going to make changes of their own here once again, as Alexander Zinchenko, who hadn't started any of the previous 6 games before starting the Luton match on Wednesday. He's got back-to-back starts now, and he'll be replaced by number 18 of Takehiro Tomiyasu. who's been back for the last 2 games against City and Luton after missing the 10 before that. So he's starting to get back into the team as well. Tomiyasu. As on the edge of the box, Brighton will build forward with Dunk into the centre of midfield now to Beleba. It's left back Estepinian. Turns away from Martinelli. Not got many options here, Estepinian, as Martinelli will keep trying to take the ball away from him as Estepinian turns away from him once again. And eventually trips him up there. And Arteta, again, wandering out of his technical area. Down the line. And Dunk will go long for Brighton in behind. And then Welbeck's got space now. On the left-hand side, in the box. He goes to the edge of the box to Pedro, who can get it away from Trossard, but tackled by Rice, and then Trossard tripped over by Gross. And that'll be a free kick for Arsenal, just on the edge of the 18-yard box. You know, Arsenal haven't won a Premier League title in 20 years. And unfortunately, they're involved in a 3-horse race at the moment. Usually, there's only 2 teams involved, but this time, it's 3. And 3 teams who look equally likely to win the league. That's why it is so exciting to watch. You can't really call it at the moment. It's all so close. As it is, Brighton back on the ball with Dunk on the edge of the box. Goes back to Verbruggen, who takes a touch, plays it forward to Gross. Then plays it out to the right to Van Hecke. Beats the Arsenal press for now. And then forward it goes to Beleba, who gets in front of Declan Rice. Beleba drives forward with the ball into the Arsenal half. He still has it. Great running from Beleba, who's then eventually stopped in his tracks by Martinelli. He had to just release it. Did the hardest part there, Beleba, getting his team forward. As Tomiyasu clears away for Arsenal into the Brighton half. And they'll go out for a throw in here for Brighton with their left back of Estepinian. It looks like Brighton want to make another change. Couldn't quite see who that was, as we were showing pictures of a very animated Roberto De Zerbi. João Pedro in the centre circle, dispossessed by Jorginho. Ødegaard to the left back of Tomiyasu. Back to Gabriel, clears it first time, down the left-hand side. Trossard's not there to chase. And it's Brighton back on the ball with 15 minutes to play. 2 down at the moment. But it does seem, for Arsenal, they win here every 2 years. Their last 2 wins here at the Amex came in December 2020 and 2022, and here they're winning again in 2024. As Dunk goes over the top, down the left-hand side, controlled by Adingra, and he tries to chop away from Ben White. Still has it, Adingra, towards the byline. But he's forced to go backwards here, as his first pass deflects off White, back to his own feet. So he's still with Brighton, this time with Estepinian. Now with Beleba across to the right to Van Hecke, who's allowed time on the ball here. The Brighton centre-back, as he is in a central area at the moment. Lifts it out to the left-hand side to Estepinian, who crosses in towards Gross, but an easy catch again for Raya. And Raya's going to send this one. He's going to go long. Havertz hits the deck. Beleba's been caught guilty of a foul. And that'll be a yellow card for the Brighton central midfielder. It's a free kick on halfway for Arsenal. Feel like it's been too easy for Arsenal tonight, as we're going to get another a Brighton change, and they're going to bring off Danny Welbeck, who has been so isolated up front. It's been a real struggle for him tonight, the former Arsenal man. He scored 16 Premier League goals for Arsenal during his 5-year stint at the club, and he'll be replaced by the Barcelona loanee of Ansu Fati, who's had an injury-struck season on the whole. Missed 3 months from November to January with a calf problem. Hasn't played any of the last 2 games, but he's on the pitch now for the final 15 or so minutes at this one. As Trossard completes a 1-2 with Tomiyasu as he enters the box. He won't beat Verbruggen to it. Good goalkeeping there from the Brighton goalie, all in orange tonight. And he rolls it out to Dunk, who has to go back to Verbruggen as Ødegaard presses. It's now with Van Hecke, still in the 18-yard box here for Brighton. It's with Dunk. Not got loads of options there, so he goes to the Verbruggen again, the goalkeeper. Who brings it forward. Plays it to his left to Dunk. Forward to Ansu Fati. Lays it through to Dunk again. Then forward to Pedro. He then has the run of Adingra. Good football this from Brighton. As he just about enters the Arsenal half. Adingra onto his right foot. Plays it across here to Gross in the centre circle. So now with Van Hecker. Into the middle to Fatty, then back out to the right to Van Hecker. He tries to slip a ball through to Gross, deflects to Saliba on the edge of the box, and Arsenal try and clear with White, and he does just that. And as he clears it, he's caught. Free kick for Arsenal on the edge of the box. Just caught there by Facundo Buonanotte. Ben White. Ben White already back to his feet from that foul on the edge of the box as he cleared the ball. So Arsenal top of the league. But if Liverpool win tomorrow, it will be back to Liverpool on top, 2 clear. But if it's a draw, Arsenal will stay top with their superior goal difference that they've got at the moment. As Raya takes that free kick out to the Arsenal left. It's a header won by Havertz, straight to Rice. He's got Trossard in front of him. Finds the Belgian. Keeps the ball away from Baleba, but runs out of room on the far side there. That'll be a throw-in for Brighton, deep in their own half. Lamptey will take it. Throws it into João Pedro. And then back it goes here into the 18-yard box of the goalkeeper of Verbruggen. To the left, to Dunk. Estepinian's getting forward from left back. They find him. Here is Estepinian on the ball. Again, not many options there for him. Finds Gross. It's now Ansu Fati again. Keeps the ball away from Ødegaard. Goes out to the left. Comes off Martinelli. Straight to Gross so Brighton can continue the attack. Adingra lifts it down the line for Estepinian. Shoving the back from Saliba. Free kick for Brighton. On the left wing position, and a yellow card for Saliba. I feel like that's a tad harsh, as Brighton wanted to take it quickly, but the referee wasn't ready. I mean, it definitely was a free kick there. Saliba just a little shove in the back, but it's not a yellow card for me. That I think that's harsh from the referee. As Saliba picks his 4th booking up of the season. Never been sent off in his professional career yet, William Saliba, but he has to be careful for the last 10 minutes of this one with a yellow card. So if Brighton somehow find a goal from this free kick, we could have a game in our hands. Estepinian crosses in, header one from Gabriel, drops to Buonanotte, goes back to the edge of the centre circle here to Lamptey, to the left to Gross. It's now with Estepinian on this near side, forward to Adingra. He's going to run at Havertz here, and he might fancy this one, Adingra. Nope, runs straight into the German, and the German takes it away and plays it inside to Ødegaard, and then into Jorginho, whose pass is misplaced, intercepted by Fati, goes across to the right to Buonanotte, who's got options left and right. Goes on his own, though. Great bit of skill to get away from Ødegaard and Jorginho. Then finds Fati on the edge of the box. Forward to Adingra, who goes down in the box, but nothing given. Rice with the tackle. Gabriel with the clearance. But it goes straight out of play. It's kept in play, in fact, by Estepinian. As Brighton can go again down their left-hand side here with Fati finding Estepinian. Inside to Pedro. Turns forward here. Gets it forward to Fati. Then lifts it through for Gross, who flicks it into Pedro. His touch gets away from him, cleared by Gabriel. All as far as Adingra, who can cross the ball in here for Brighton. Comes off Martinelli, and it'll be a corner for Brighton on the near side. I don't believe they really deserve anything from this game, Brighton. But if they can get a goal here, it does really put the pressure on Arsenal late on. Ball goes into the near post, free header won by Havertz. Oh man, this is bad from Brighton. I know they're playing the Arsenal side, who are really good at the moment, and like I said, unbeaten in this year in the Premier League so far. But and then there we go again. Adingra's pass goes behind Gross, and out for a throw for Arsenal. It's just nothing has clicked for Brighton tonight. Nothing. Don't get me wrong, Arsenal have played well. They 100% deserve the lead. They've done enough to get the 2 goals, but if this is a Brighton team who actually decide to turn up, it could be a different game. Ben White throws it down the line to the halfway line, headed forward by Dunk, put into the air by Jorginho here, where Dunk pulls down Havertz. That is so unnecessary from Lewis Dunk. What is he doing? Lewis Dunk just pulls down Havertz on the halfway line on this near side. Don't know why. Don't know if he just... I think that was a bit of aggression from Dunk, maybe. Just a bit angry. I don't know. But just took his eye off the ball and just pulled him to the ground. I don't know what Dunk's thinking there. Free kick for Arsenal. Clip down the right-hand side here for Martinelli from Ødegaard. Cut out, though, for Brighton. One back for Arsenal through Saliba. White's pass comes off a Dingra. And that'll be an Arsenal throw-in. Midway side the Brighton half. On this near side with their right back White. As he throws it into the 18-yard box here. It's a long throw-in, headed to the edge of the box by Havertz. Lifted into Martinelli through Jorginho. Martinelli tries to break away, but he's shielded off the ball there by Lewis Dunk. You can see it through to the goalkeeper of Verbruggen. And Brighton can build again from the back with Dunk. Now Pascal Gross, allowed to bring the ball forward from the edge of the 18-yard box. Goes out to the left here to Dunk. Not got loads of options here. Finds Estepinian on halfway. Inside to Pedro. Gets away from Rice for the moment. Last touch there, I think, came off João Pedro, but it's a throw-in for Brighton. As the slide tackle there from Rice was timed to perfection. To stop João Pedro advancing anymore into the Arsenal half. There's João Pedro to Estepinian. Just about works it back to João Pedro. His White slid in. Still with Brighton on the halfway line now with Dunk. A couple of plays over to the right-hand side, but it looks like Brighton are going to continue building down the left. And it's now with Gross in a left-back position. Goes out to the left back, Estepinian. Forced to go backwards as he had Ben White on his back. Gross lifts it forward. Headed away by Gabriel. Flicked away by João Pedro to Dunk, who slides in fairly on Havertz and wins the ball. And Brighton will bring it forward on this near side. No one in the box or anywhere near the box for Brighton as they work it to a Dinger on the left wing. Back it goes here for Dunk. 6 minutes left of the game. Arsenal lead 2-0. A goal from Saka from the penalty spot and a goal in the second half from Havertz as Buonanotte puts a ball to the far post where Adingra can hook it into the area over his head. He did well to keep that in, Adingra. Shocking cross from Buonanotte. Arsenal clear it. Straight to the Verbruggen, who's found himself in the centre circle there. Nods it forward to Dunk. Goes out to the right to Van Hecke. Got Lamptey getting forward from right back. And you'll find Gross instead. Dunk, midway side the Arsenal half here. Bringing it forward. Plays it to his left to Estepinian. On once more to Adingra. He's going to run at Ben White here. But instead he's tackled by Martinelli. Who backheels it into White. That's brilliant from Martinelli. And White clears it down the line. No one up there for Arsenal. So we'll go straight back through for Verbruggen as Brighton can come again. Starting from the halfway line. It's almost like Arsenal are just giving this Brighton team chances to attack. They almost feel sorry for them. They've done that little. They're just clearing the ball away going, come on, have another go, have another try. As it's on the far side now for Brighton with Buonanotte. Finds Baleba, all Arsenal players currently behind the ball. As it's with Dunk. Got the option of Adingra furthest left, but he goes to the right instead to Gross. Who could turn away from Trossard, but he gives it away with a loose touch for Havertz. He slots it through for Trossard, who's all on his own. He's in front of the defence. Goalkeeper to beat. Trossard against his former side. Lifts it over the goalkeeper. Arsenal have a third. They also have the 3 points wrapped up. They're back to the top of the Premier League. And they deserve nothing less than this victory. Brighton have been so below par. And Arsenal have capitalised on the break. This time it's a goal for Havertz alongside this assist. Given away by Pascal Gross. Heavy touch. Straight to Havertz. Who saw Trossard through. Brighton had everyone forward. Trossard was onside as he was in his own half as the ball was played through. He got in front of the Brighton defence as Baleba was the one chasing him down. He only had Verbruggen to beat. And on his right foot, he just lifted it over the Dutch goalkeeper into the back of the net. And the former Seagull comes to haunt his former club here at the Amex. As it's Brighton 0, Arsenal 3. And Arsenal are back to the top of the Premier League. Off the bench with a goal. Leandro Trossard against his former side. And for Leandro Trossard, it is now his 8th of the season. He hasn't scored in any of his previous 5. But his little goal-scoring drought comes to an end here, as he equals last season's tally of 8 goals. In the last 3 seasons, Trossard has scored 8 Premier League goals. Could he beat that this campaign? There's Fati, tripped by Jorginho. Free kick given to Brighton. As there's 2.5 minutes to play here, they've worked it to the left wing here to João Pedro. Goes into Gross. Buonanotte lays it off for João Pedro, runs into traffic of Declan Rice, who can now play it to the left-back area here to Trossard, who lifts it back through for Rice. This is brilliant from Arsenal. This is how you win away from home. As Rice brings it forward, he's got Martinelli to his left. Rice will go on his own here. He's going to strike it! It's just wide. May have just been tipped behind by the goalkeeper. Could have took a deflection. But in the 88th minute, I know Rice was rested against Luton. He took a deflection, in fact, off Dunk, I believe, and then just past the post. But the fact he just ran from pretty much the edge of his own box to the edge of the opposition box there, Rice, is ridiculous. He is some player. As Arsenal are going to make a double change late on. They're going to bring off Kai Havertz, who scored and assisted tonight. He'll be replaced by Eddie Nketiah, who's searching for his 20th Premier League goal of his career. And the captain, Ødegaard, who's just been so relaxed and calm and composed as usual. He will be replaced by Fabio Vieira, making just his 10th Premier League appearance of the season. The Portuguese man signed from Porto last summer. He's missed 15 games with a groin problem this season, but lacked minutes in general, Fabio Vieira, as he'll get a little bit of a run out here on the south coast. As it'll be Rice who won the corner. He will take the corner as we've got a minute left to play here at the Amex. Rice crosses to the far post. It's Gabriel with the header. It's palmed away by Verbruggen. Headed on by Baleba. Only as far as Martinelli outside the box now for Arsenal towards the byline. Goes backwards to Trossard. It's now with Rice. The original corner take. He goes inside to his right to Trossard, to Jorginho, then down the line to Martinelli. It's brilliant football. Martinelli to the byline. Lifts it in. Nketiah heads it over the crossbar. You know, for how poor Brighton have been, Arsenal have been very good. A very professional away performance. You know, this season, Brighton have lost twice here. Once in the Europa League and then once in the Premier League in August to West Ham. They're unbeaten in 12 here at home. So it's a very difficult place to come to usually, but Arsenal have made it look like an absolute piece of cake. And it is Arsenal who will be taking the 3 points home here. A much needed 3 points to keep in the race for the title, as we've got 5 minutes added on. Good work here between Estepinian and Dingra, who's been sent away on the left wing. He enters the box on his left side. He goes down after a strong challenge from Saliba, and it'll be a corner kick for Brighton on this near side. As for Brighton, they've got Burnley away next, which you'd expect them to win, but who knows at this point, because they're going to be through without a win now, Brighton, and then they've got to host Manchester City and go away to Bournemouth, another difficult place to go to this season. As Gross will be the one to cross this ball in to the near post, header away from Nketiah. Such a bad delivery that from Pascal Gross. You might get a second try at it here as he's got the ball from Estepinian. He goes down to Estepinian and he will cross it in. That's a better one, flicked on by Rice. It will drop to João Pedro, who shoots. It's a brilliant block from Gabriel. Huge celebrations from the Arsenal defence, who want this clean sheet. It'll be their 14th of the season. They currently lead the Premier League for clean sheets. Good block that, because that could have gone in there. If it had gone past Gabriel on his 125th appearance in the Premier League. Gabriel is an out-swinging cross from Gross. That's a better one, but still the header's one from an Arsenal man of Ben White. He's now back with Gross, the original corner taker. 3.5 minutes to play. Gross crosses into the edge of the box where Dunk flicks onto Ansu Fati, who's got Saliba in front of him. Lays it off into a Dingra. It's now with Dunk on the left-hand side. Back down the line for a Dingra again. Takes on Tomiyasu, crosses off the Japanese fullback. And it'll be another corner for Brighton. A bit of late pressure here from the home team, who will be staying in 9th position after this game. 5 points off Manchester United in 6th. And West Ham, who are in 7th. As they go short to Estepinian on the edge of the box. With his right foot, crosses. Comes off the head of Rice, deflects off the face of Trossard, who's been sent away from by Vieira. Trossard has it. Blocked by Baleba. Drops back to Trossard, who scored the 3rd for Arsenal. He lifts it out to the right wing. Kept in from Vieira. Nodding it inside, but can't quite find Gabriel Martinelli. And it's Brighton back on the ball with 2.5 minutes to play here. Definitely one to forget for Brighton. Not been at it at all today. Dingra, tackled by Martinelli, throwing for Brighton midway side the Arsenal half here. As a consolation goal, I don't even think would be deserved for Brighton, in all honesty. As Kai Havertz wins player of the match there with his goal and an assist. Wasn't involved a lot for Arsenal in the general play, but in the moments where it mattered, he popped up with some important moments. Kai Havertz assisting Trossard's goal for the 3rd and scoring the 2nd himself. There's Gross, goes down the line to Estepinian in the final 3rd. Touch isn't great, but he can work it away from Martinelli. But then he's surrounded by him and Jorginho, and he eventually pulls down Jorginho. And just simply nothing has gone Brighton's way. Nothing's gone right. And I think it's a game they've just got to forget. Because this has been a frustrating watch, and I'm not even a Brighton fan. It's just one of those games where, yes, they're playing a better team. There's no hiding in that, but they've not really put the best version of themselves out there. In all honesty, it's got just over a minute to play here. Free kick for Arsenal, just on the far side, just in front of the halfway line. As Mikel Arteta's side are strolling to another 3 points. It's just one defeat now in 13 for Arsenal in all competitions. Still remain unbeaten in the Premier League for 2024. This was definitely a fixture for Arsenal, which could have been a potential banana skin with the fact that Brighton don't lose here very often. There's Jorginho on the byline. Can't turn away from Van Hecke. Needs to be cleared. It is by Van Hecke, but it's not done very well. Vieira forward to Nketiah in the box. He wants to shoot. He said plays it through for White. What a pass that is. It's cut out, though, by the sliding Estepinian. Gone only as far as White outside the box, who crosses into it. Header away from Adingra. João Pedro will chase it, but he's dealt with there by Vieira, as he just caught João Pedro in the face there. I think he was accidental, but still caught him in the face. And it'll be a yellow card for White. I'm not sure why White's been booked. Well, I think it's actually gone White. I think it's actually gone free kick for Brighton. There is a free kick for Brighton because it was João Pedro caught by Vieira, but Ben White has been booked. I'm not sure what he was booked for, in all honesty. As after 5 minutes of additional time, the referee John Brooks blows the whistle here at the Amex as Arsenal return to the top of the Premier League table. 3 goals, 3 points. And they now await the result of the Liverpool game as they travel to Old Trafford tomorrow. But for now, they can enjoy a good 12 hours or so calmly top of the league until tomorrow dawns and they start getting a little bit nervous because Liverpool start to play and they might lose that top spot again. But for the moment, they are top. And they come up against a very underwhelming Brighton side tonight. Really disappointing from Brighton. Just did not turn up in the slightest. But saying that, Arsenal put on a very professional away performance. Scored in the first half through Bukayo Saka. A bit of a controversial penalty given as Tariq Lamptey did win a bit of the ball first, but then took out Gabriel Jesus as he cut onto his right foot from the left-hand side. And Saka did produce the goal from 12 yards out, matching his total tally for Premier League goals last season, 14 this season, and 14 in last season's campaign. And in the second half, the lead was doubled through Kai Havertz in the 62nd minute. Jorginho putting the ball in at the near post, tapped home from Havertz from a couple of yards out. He's now got 5 goals in his last 7 Premier League games. And the goal scoring was finished by Leandro Trossard, who scored the third. Brighton pretty much had everyone forward. Trossard played through from Havertz as the miscontrolled ball from Gross fell to the German international. Played a ball first time through for Trossard, who was all alone in the Brighton half. Got in front of Baleba and lifted it over the goalkeeper of Bart Verbruggen to score his first ever goal against his former side as he came off the bench today for Arteta to wrap up the 3 points. But here at the Amex, it does finish Brighton 0, Arsenal 3. I've genuinely enjoyed watching this whole thing. I'm glad you've watched the whole thing. It helps me out, you watching the whole thing. So I do appreciate everyone who did stick around. And if you want a lesson on how not to defend and how to not play very well, watch that Brighton game. Because Brighton were really off it. That's really disappointed me. They were so bad. You know, just like sometimes for a team, just nothing goes right. And it was just one of those days for Brighton. It's like every pass just went short or it just went behind someone. Didn't really threaten the Arsenal goal at all. And I think you just got to find the balance of looking at the game and thinking Brighton were really bad, but also looking at it with Arsenal were pretty good and picked up a very solid 3 points away from home in a point in the season where you get into April, and if you're still in a title race, you need to be winning every game, and Arsenal are doing that at the moment. But thank you to everyone who did watch. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. 2 more commentaries coming up tomorrow. We're covering the Old Firm derby, Rangers against Celtic at 12, and we're also covering the other big game in the title races. Manchester United host Liverpool once again, this time in the Premier League after their FA Cup triumph in the FA Cup quarter-finals. But thank you. Question 1, 2 goals like... Question 1, those 2 goals like... Yeah, well, they were mistakes. One of the goals, you just kicked it across goal, which wasn't great. But the other one was playing out from the back, and what can you do? Sometimes you lose it. So I wouldn't worry. Just that one where you kicked it across goal, I was like, oh no, she knows she's not done that right. But you can learn. Hey, you learn from mistakes, so I don't mind it. But thanks to everyone who did join. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. But here at the Amex, Brighton underperformed. Arsenal took advantage. They scored 3. They pick up 3 points. They're now top of the league for now. As here at the Amex, it finishes Brighton 0, Arsenal 3.